Hello everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. I'm John's Mapping, or the Sultanate Empire, and in today's video we are going to be continuing What If Civilization Started Over. Episode 26, I do believe. Let's get into today's video, and let me not make this intro like 4 minutes long, shall we? Alrighty. First things first, let me just turn off the provinces map, because that won't be needed for this first bit, as we are going to see some expansion done by a couple of countries. One of the first countries that we will be see that English that we will see expand is some of the Australian countries down here. More prominently, most of the coastal ones gaining a bit more land and resources that they don't have along the coastline. As we all know, Australia may be rich in, or may not be rich in a bunch of other things, but they do have quite a bit of materials and ores that are valuable to these countries. Now, I do believe, if I did not show you before, I will show you now. It is something that is still in the process of being updated, but for all of those who are new to the series, let me show you what I am talking about. It is a layer that I came up with. I, in fact, did not get this from anyone else. I came up with this layer myself while I was just kind of messing around with a couple of my friends. This layer is called the Formable Empires layer. Now, if you look at this layer versus the actual map, you'll notice that there's a lot of stuff missing, and that's not included. That is due to the fact that I do need to update this map. Now, as time goes on, as certain countries exist, they can choose if they want to, either if they control enough of, like, let's say the orange team, they can reform the orange team, or they can form their own kingdom out of the orange team's formable empire thing right here. Like, for example, all of the previous countries that used to belong to the Arabian Empire, or the Holy Arabian Empire, can form the Holy Arabian Empire, even though it does still technically exist, just a lot smaller. But if it ever disappears and, doesn't so it's like right here, this is the Holy Arabian Empire right here. If this basically disappears and it no longer exists, a country can claim all of their territory and make the Holy Arabian Empire once again. And you can tell that certain countries lost territory, certain countries gained more territory, this and that, and that is basically that's basically what this layer is. In between episodes, I will in fact be updating that, and that's going to play a major role in the future, as we may see some favorited empires from the series return and make comebacks from in the series in the future. But anyways, that's enough explanation on that. Let us get into today's video, which is again doing some expansion. This country right down here along the coastline, they will be expanding themselves along the coastline somewhat, but they will primarily try and go a little bit inland for their territory. Uh, give them that as well. That tiny little dot right there. So, we will in fact be seeing them claim and take all of this land right over here. We will be seeing this southern one connect up with them and their northern neighbor, this green one right over here, will in fact be connecting up with them, and like I said, their northern neighbor. So let us go ahead and look at that right now. If Paint.net wants to cooperate with me, which it doesn't seem to want to. Why? Okay, Paint.net is being weird. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, there we go. We're almost there, Paint.net. You almost got it. Come on. Why are you being like this? Why? Give me one moment, everybody. And alrighty, we are back. Sorry, I had to make a little cut there because Paint.net was being weird. We will be seeing this country also do some minor naval expansion, but they will primarily go inland like this, kind of connecting up to right about there, taking all of this land right over here, and we will be seeing their northern neighbor do some expansion as well. Like, for example, one of the first places they expand into is all of this land right down here. And then the other bits of, ooh boy, I'm gonna have to fix that. I'll fix it later. They are going to have to, or, brain broken. They are going to expand into some more inland territory just to claim a lot more of it, and they're even going to go up to the coast right about there. Then they are going to take both of these areas. Now, to kind of speed this process up, let's go ahead and look at the Conference of Australia, which will be seeing the entirety of Australia be filled in either with new countries or with expanded land in about 3, 2, and 1. And alrighty, we are back with the Conference of Australia. We have one new country being formed, and the rest of the land being claimed by the surrounding countries. Now we're not going to go too far because we are actually going to be going over to my friend Silver, who is unfortunately going to be going through a few things. One of the first things that is going to be happening is a rebellion, or well, a civil war. You see, the Queen of this country has just passed away. And she had about 4 sons. The eldest gains control over Papua New Guinea and uh, the Australian colony. The second eldest gains control over the Filipino Islands. The third eldest gets this island right over here, and also all of these islands as well. And then the fourth eldest retains everything else. Now, Silver was a fairly strong country. Also, we will be also seeing this island right over here break away from Silver due to the fact that some things have been happening behind the scenes that no one really knows about. But let's get into the Civil War. First thing we are going to see is we are going to see the eldest brother using his influence, well, not his influence, his military, to begin to invade his brothers. His, I think that was the fourth, the third. Invade his third youngest brother's territory completely taking over this major city and almost pushing his brother completely out of this area with some quick moves and attacks on all of his brother's islands over in this region. The only place where his brother holds last bits of power in this area near Papua New Guinea is right up here with that major city and those two islands. Meanwhile, we will be seeing the Philippines go in after him as well, causing him to be involved in a two-front war. But technically, though all sides are against each other, there are no friends in this war. And after about a month of pushing, they reach to right about here before being halted. But that does, in fact, come at a cost. And that cost is, in fact, that the youngest of them all, which is Silver's proper government, does, in fact, make a naval landing right up here, cutting the primary island of the Philippines in our world in two, taking the last major city in the north. Oh, there's one more major city, I stand corrected. Like so. We will also be seeing the eldest brother go in after Silver's territory, as Silver's forces begin to slowly and methodically be pushed back, as the Civil War was kind of out of the blue and no one really expected it to happen, because on the outside, Silver's country seemed like one of the most stablest countries in Southeast Asia and also in Oceania. But with this will fuel the ambitions of many countries, primarily the Southeast Asian Accord. That's what they're called now. I do believe I called them the Southeast Asian Coalition. No, they are now known as the South, or well, they're known as the South Asian Accord because they now have countries in Central Asia and South Asia that are a part of their team. So they are now known as the South Asian Accord. And this is actually really good for them because for the longest time, the Vietnamese and the and Myanmar, Myanmar, I think, have both were both unable to really do much in any previous wars because Silver was right on their border. But now with this civil war and rebellion and fighting happening in the country, the Vietnamese and Myanmar decide that it's time for them to try and gain a bit of land. And that's exactly what they do. The Southeast Asian Accord declares war on Silver's country, with the Vietnamese quickly pushing into these areas, gaining a quick foothold, and actually cutting this area off from any land access and land support. But thankfully, with Silver's generals acting quickly on their feet, most of the troops that were encircled in this area are able to quickly escape. Myanmar also begins their invasion of this area right over here, and they also quickly to take over this land, but they are unable to push past this major city as Silver's forces, after regrouping and reorganizing, are able to hold a defensive line. Now, some countries see this as an opportunity, and this will cause the war for Asia. Basically, this will cause the war for Asia, where we will be seeing two big alliances, fairly big alliances, go at each other in a head to head. We will be seeing the Indian Pact, or the Pact of India, versus the South Asian Accord. The Indian Pact involves India, of course, Taiwan, this country right up here, this one, this one, and this one. Whereas the South Asian Accord includes Vietnam, Myanmar, South China, I want to say Bangladesh, this pink country right here, this one, and this one. And this is where the war will begin to pick up. Let's jump to the early land gains and losses of the Asian of the war for Asia. And alrighty, we are back. Here are the early land gains and losses of all the countries involved in the war for Asia. Let's continue this good old war down here in Asia. First things first, we will be seeing a country collapse fairly fast. And well, the first country to fall over to one side is, of course, this country right down here, as the red team just does a full blown blitz for their capital, seizing it and taking it over, and quickly moving outward from there. But in doing so, they do kind of lose on another front, and that is the secondary front that they have. This also kind of causes some major problems as the people of this country weren't really patriotic to it. They didn't have a lot of nationalism. So the enemy military is just kind of waltzing through. Now, of course, there's like select few of this country's population that do in fact have nationalism for their country. But the nationalism quickly fades when pretty much your entire military gets trapped behind enemy lines. Now, their military forces do quickly begin to maneuver and make their moves to into their ally territory, not taking many losses in this encirclement, but most definitely taking losses nonetheless, and kind of leaving their ally here to fight them for themselves, and causing India to also focus on yet another front, as they need to send troops up here to prevent the entire and complete collapse of their ally. These guys up here are unable to push any further because of their allies' southern situation, causing the front line there to stalemate. But there is some good news for the Pact of India, as India's ally right down here does in fact push back their enemies and their hostile threats, like so. And they're actually able to push towards the border in many areas, kind of cutting the front line into many different parts, like so. And we do also see Allied forces being able to push. Unfortunately, the red team, expecting an invasion from uh, the green team or the orange team, have really fortified their surrounding regions around the capital, kind of turning it into if you know Avatar The Last Airbender, turning it into a bossing, say, essentially with a three multi-high wall, 3 layers, with the outer layer, the inner layer, then the like inner layer, which is where the Capitol building and the palace and all of that good stuff is. Which is going to make this a pain in the butt to invade in general. Now let us move over to a different front entirely. The other front we'll be moving to is the front over here, where without their support from their allies, besides of course South Asia, the South China country, the pink team right over here's capital will of course be taken. Now, since the Southeast Asian countries don't like India and they don't like Indian influence, neither do their people. The people of the pink team are very nationalistic towards their country. And we see that nationalism as even though the capital has fallen and the leaders are elsewhere or dead, the people continue to fight for the betterment of their country. And eventually, Myanmar and Vietnamese troops do begin to arrive as a white peace is signed between Silver's country and also the Vietnamese and Myanmar. We do see the Indians able to push back this northern country right over here and actually do a counter invasion of their territories, but it is a small invasion so that India does not end up spreading itself too thin, because even though they do have a high population, this is still war, people die, things can still happen. And now, Silver was one of India's highest competitors and enemies and rivals. But Silver is currently in the middle of a civil war. Therefore, Silver is no longer a threat to him, or well, to India. Now we will be looking at this and this. With the white peace being signed, no territory being lost and no territory being gained, and the civil war continues to rage on. We will also be seeing some other countries join in on this war. Like, for example, the northern Caspian country up there does, in fact, join in on this war to gain more land because they do have many exclaves scattered across this entire region, so they themselves want some land. And what do you do when you want land? You take it forcefully from your neighbors. Realizing the Orange team is in a war, the Northern Caspian country does in fact declare war on the Orange team and begin its invasion. Now, the Orange team, being fairly weak, pretty much has no chance against the Northern Caspian country as they will in fact lose. But due to the fact that they do have allies to support them, the Northern Caspian country is halted right outside the gates of the capital. But this does cause both the Green team and the Orange team forces to be pushed back significantly. Pretty much the Orange team being pushed back completely out of the country, and the Green team being pushed back to a small minor area within the country, which is right about here. Now, at this point, the war has been raging on for a while. Capitals have fallen, countries have gained land. The war has essentially stalemated in a kind of gridlock sense right now. Of course, with the green team redirecting forces to help the orange team, we do see them regain control of this city down here. And, kind of take over all of this down here and kind of relieve the capital of the orange team a little bit. Green team forces do begin an invasion of this um, exclave right here, and they do occupy it for the orange team. They also begin their invasion and conquering of this exclave while the orange team maintains defensive lines on the primary front with the northern Caspian country. Now, a country that isn't too happy in them getting involved in uh, the Central Asian or the War for Asia is the Black Sea Caspian Union, which essentially is a fairly strong country and a fairly old country. that can put up a fight against the North Caspian Kingdom or Empire, and essentially the Black Sea Caspian Union basically tells them, "Hey, stop that. Bad. If you keep going to war, we'll declare war on you and we'll support the Indian Pact." So the Northern Caspian Kingdom basically halts their invasions for now and doesn't do anything more, with yet the war coming to yet another stalemate. Let us move to a different area now. Let's move away from all of that up there and move down to right about here, where we will be seeing yet even more war. What kind of war, you may be asking? Well, a war between Orange Team countries. Well, former Orange Team, but now independent countries, where these guys will be declaring war on the this country right over here to kind of connect up their exclave with the rest of their country. The brown team, which is a lot weaker than this country, concedes over. Now let's go ahead and look at the peace treaty for them. And that peace treaty is going to look something like this, with them getting all of these lands right over here, and then some. So it was a war that ended in about 6 months. Meanwhile, the war for Asia continues to rage on. Why is there just a single like white dot there? That was weird. So we do see, in fact, them taking all of this territory here, finally connecting up their exclave that they once had. Now let's go to something a little bit more peaceful that isn't war and conquest. And what is that? Well, colonization. It's not as peaceful as, well, the Welsh have just found free labor. You may be wondering what I mean by that. Well, they have just found natives. Now, these natives they're not big, they're small tribes. They're not big tribes, they're fairly small tribes in the New England area going down the coast of Eastern America. And they found some Northern American tribes that have basically been living in these areas. And, well, they found out that the natives are very good at navigating this area. And also, they are very good at hunting and also farming. And so, the Welsh, realizing this, begin. They are the first country to enact slavery. Because in this world, the world started down in Africa, which means there would be no slavery coming from Africa. Instead, the slavery comes from the New World. And well, people finding out that, oh, wow, there's people living over on that new continent and they're good at doing certain things that we're not. For their We don't have to pay them. We don't need to give them money. They'll work for us for free. The Europeans and the African countries are very much ecstatic and excited for this news, and they begin to buy slaves off of the Welsh and even the Scots, as the Scots too have found some indigenous tribes again, not that big, fairly small. They too have found some Canadian indigenous people that are very good at making winter coats and handling the cold. So the Scots basically take all of them and enslave them as well for, production and product. Basically, what slavery was in our world. Just a lot worse because it's a lot more strict. And in our world, the people were actually seen as somewhat they were actually seen as somewhat people. You know, they were still given education, they were still given food, they were still given like barns to live in. No. Slavery in this world, way worse because the tribes have to fend for themselves. They have to find their own food, build their own house, take care of their own necessities and needs. The Scots and the Welsh are not doing that for them. And that is primarily due to the fact that the Scots and the Welsh are enjoying selling them. The Scots and the Welsh are quickly becoming a very an economic powerhouse within Europe, selling their slaves to the world for free labor force. And that is all for expansion and colonization. And actually, that is all for today's video. I'm Sean's Mapping, or the Sultan and Empire. This video has went on for a little longer than I wanted or expected it to. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button beneath the video. If you didn't, then that's okay. You don't have to. You can hit the dislike button if you would like. If you enjoy my content and you enjoy what I do, I suggest you hit that subscribe button beneath the video and then that bell notification icon to get notified on the next time I upload or post a new video to my channel. Now again, to explain to all of my new viewers, I know that my upload schedule is not very concrete, and that is due to the fact that I am still in school and I am, kind of focusing on my IRL life instead of YouTube because, let's all be honest, school is more important than doing YouTube as my primary job currently. So I do this for fun. I hope you guys enjoy the fact that I do this for fun. I'm Sean's Mapping, or the Sultan Empire. I hope you beautiful ladies and gentlemen enjoy the rest of your day or night wherever you may be, wherever you may live. And I'll see y'all in the next video. See ya!